Hi everyone, my name is Chido Ranganayi. I'm a final year accounting and finance student. I'm finally at the end. um, and I'm here to talk about my experience with blended learning, as well as speaking to you about how to choose your modules for second year and third year. So for my experience with blended learning, it has been a ride. It's definitely been a journey. Um, I think at the beginning, it was very hard to adjust. I think the way that everything got turned upside down for the students that were here when everything went crazy in March 2020, it was very difficult to suddenly have to switch to online learning and then having to have the format of some of our assessments change as well. I know for me personally, I was in the middle of what was a 50% coursework assignment that I had due and eventually turned into 100%. I had group work that suddenly turned into individual work. So there definitely were uh, changes at the very beginning. So I think that was hard to adjust to, but thankfully, because it was towards the end of the semester, it was a little bit easier because we had covered a lot of the lecture material. Now, when it came to the beginning of the first semester of this academic year, 2020, 2021, it was definitely a jump. I know a couple of my friends and I were saying we don't know whether this jump is because we're in our final year or whether this is just because of the blended style of learning. I am based in Swansea, so I was able to show up for my in-person module workshops. Those I found very useful. I found that quite helpful to actually interact with the lecturer, be able to ask my questions, and actually get the tactile element of my learning experience. So that was helpful. Um, I think what I struggled with was the online part of the experience. Um, I definitely had to manage my time a lot better. That was one thing that I discovered I had tried to do in my second year and definitely had no choice to do when it came around to the blended style of learning. Like most of you, the lecture videos are recorded, so it meant that I had to watch that in my own time and then make sure I had attempted questions or read enough material so that I would come prepared for my seminars. That's just personally how I like to prepare for attending my online seminars. So I think that was definitely a jump. Definitely having to review all the material. I think I struggled because in my first semester, all my online seminars were on one day. And if any of you, if anyone else had the same issue, I understand. um, it was definitely a challenging experience. And now, thankfully, this semester, I feel like I have a better grasp of it. I think the blended style of learning definitely takes some time to adjust to and to learn to, how you study best, for example, whether you study best in the morning or whether you study best at night, in the afternoon. And trying to fit it into your own schedule as well, especially if you're at home and you have errands to run or someone to care after. So I think it definitely was a stretch in showing me what I could do. One benefit that I do have is that, or that I hope I have when I enter the job market, is that because things look like it'll be blended in some way, I will have experience, like in a blended environment. And so that might help me with my employers, telling them, in fact, if an employer asks you how you had to adapt to a situation, this is a prime example, having to do blended online learning in the middle of a global pandemic and being able to adjust, keep your marks where they are, or still manage to, get great grades. I think that is probably a highlight to you on your CV or when you speak to employers as well. Um, as for advice when choosing modules, I would probably say work backwards. Look at the career journey that you may want to take. Definitely do your research just around the options that you have available to you. There's so many different things that you can do in the world of accounting and finance. So definitely taking the time to take a step back, look at the options that interest you. If it's several, look at the kinds of skills that they look for, the kind of it could be the technical skills, so it might be joining on the third year module for computerized accounting, or it might be, doing audit, or economic and finance students, it depends on the dissertation that you do, for some of the people that will be doing finance as well. So I think it really depends on where you feel like you want to take your first step after university. I won't necessarily say where you want to end up forever, because very few people stay in the same job for decades nowadays. But definitely look at what you want to be doing the first 2 to 3 years after university. Whether you want to get your qualifications, will you take modules that have exemptions? Is that something that interests you? Or in fact, will the employer that you're, signing up to work for, do they care whether you have exemptions or not? Asking yourself all these questions. I know it's a lot, but it's very important when deciding the modules, because that helps so that when you enter the job market, you already have a foundational level of the knowledge that they require of you. A lot of the employers already, they will train you. So it's not like you're going to go there and they'll leave you dry and hanging, but it does help to have at least a little bit of experience in that topic. Additionally, what I would say is pick what you want to learn. I'm a firm believer of, if you want to do it, then you'll work for it. Or I hope that's how it works. But definitely look at the kinds of things that you want to learn, whether it's technical skills. Again, for example, I wanted to learn more about trading. So I took my third year modules. A lot of them are very finance heavy, more than accounting, because I found myself in my second year quite interested, even in my first year, quite interested in the more finance side of things. So I started to look in that direction, and I'm enjoying the learning process. So I would encourage you to do the same when it comes to looking at what you want to learn and what modules we have that could help you do that. As for, sorry, let me just look at my notes really quickly. Yes, the modules that'll bring out the best in you. So essentially, you can break this down to, are you an exam person or are you a coursework-based person? I myself struggle with exams. They're okay. I can do fine. I failed in the past before, so I'm well aware of how bad it can get. But I discovered that I really liked research, and I learn best when I have coursework and when I have to work on something continuously. So I looked at the module selections and I said, okay, which ones have a lot more coursework? Which ones have, or they have consistent assessments? So for example, one of my final year modules, I have a quiz once a week. And it may be arduous in the moment, but it's definitely something that I know will benefit me at the end of the day. It's 12 weeks. I'll get through it. Eventually, I'll have the knowledge, hopefully, by the time I come out of my degree. And those are the kinds of tips that I have for you today. I hope they helped. I really hope that you are safe, that you are well, that your mental health is okay. I know that everything is up in arms at the moment, and deadlines keep being pushed forwards for the lockdown, and there's, vaccination talks and everything. But I truly hope that you're okay, that your loved ones are doing fine, and that your academics are thriving despite everything that's happening. And I wish you all the very best in everything that you have to do.